Las Vegas. See you tomorrow night. I want to say thanks to Dave Pash and those of you watching the WNBA playoffs. We are here in Las Vegas. John Saunders and Bill Walton. As we just see Barbosa put the first points on the board for Brazil, but again ahead of the pack. That'll be goaltending as Carmelo Anthony laid it up.
And the reason that was goaltending is because it hit the backboard first. You got to wait till it hits the rim. Once it hits the rim, then it's in play. The Brazilians much more skilled at taking advantage of that intriguing rule.
Splitter with it, little backdoor cut. Laid up and in by Garcia.
Brazil has a number of very good players. Carmelo Anthony, who has just become the best player on this squad, the same way he was in Athens, the same way he was in Japan last year. There is no stopping him, the versatility that he brings. But Splitter, along with Garcia, Machado, Nene, and Barbosa, they really have a team.
Off the score. This is what the USA has done a lot of in this tournament. It's run the ball off the other team's scoring.
And with K.Bryant, a noted defender when he wants to be. Last year he was torched by a lot of different guys on the NBA circuit. Right now, though, Kobe has said to the coaches, give me Barbosa. And now he's got Dwight Howard coming out literally on every opportunity, leaving the front court players for Brazil wide open, realizing that Barbosa must be stopped.
Here's a look at our State Farm on the floor, and the starting lineup remains the same. Interesting, there's no reason to mix things up. We also talked about the fact that 2 of the top 5 leading scorers for the United States are coming off the bench.
The United States is beating the opponents in this tournament by 52.5 points per game. Now, that is not expected to continue, as the United States now will play Brazil tonight. An over and back violation. K.Bryant's pressure defense, and Carmelo Anthony right over Jason Kidd. The encouragement and the appreciation and acknowledgement of the very hard work that K.Bryant has put in here. And that ball off of Barbosa, thus the backcourt violation. Possession, United States.
Anthony with it now. Moved around into the corner. That's Darren Williams. Or rather, Jason Kidd. Kidd down the lane, goes for a layup and misses it.
That ball taken off the rim.
Splitter just inside the arc. Flat shot, no good.
Splitter's got size, mobility, got a real nice package of athleticism. Most importantly, he has skill. The nice thing about LeBron James, normally he has the ball all the time. Right now he's playing basically a finisher at the forward position. But LeBron James, 12 assists in this tournament, 1 turnover, leading the FIBA Tournament of Americas in assist-to-turnover ratio.
Well, the USA has done a terrific job of handling the basketball. Just as I say that, of course, they turn it over.
But that's why you don't jump to pass.
Oh, to the basket was De Silva, but he gets rejected. Jason Kidd wants to run the other way, finds Carmelo Anthony. Misses the shot, gets his own back, sticks it up and in.
Carmelo Anthony is so hungry, and he knows that everybody's playing limited minutes. And what I love about Jason Kidd in this situation, with so much talent, the arsenal of weaponry that he has at his disposal, Jason Kidd, he's got K.Bryant at the guard. He's got LeBron James at one point, Carmelo Anthony at the other. Jason's not waiting for anybody. He is running a true meritocracy out there. And the way that Carmelo Anthony starts each and every game, that's why he's the leading scorer for this team. 25 in the last game and 21.5 through 4 games.
For such a young guy, he's got a lot of international experience, although not much of it has been good. Got a couple bronze medals, and that's about it. He's looking for a gold here and a gold in the Olympics. Nene left alone and drops it in.
Well, nice to see Nene off to a good start here. It's been a very frustrating situation for Nene, who hasn't really played. Offensive foul. They wave it off as K.Bryant runs over Splitter. But Nene, who doesn't like his coach, can't stand the federation there. They've had nothing but problems. Fortunately, after 4 years missing from the national team, Nene is back.
Can't stand the coach and the federation?
Yeah,
It sounds like Star Wars.
Well, it has been Star Wars, and fortunately they were able to come to a financial agreement and insurance accommodation, and now he's back. And Nene, sadly, he looks a bit heavy here. He has worked so hard to get that weight off, coming back from the devastating knee injury of just a little over a year ago. He takes Dwight Howard to the hoop here, but Nene, he looks heavier than he did when he finished the season, and that's not a good sign.
Well, last year after the All-Star break, Nene averaged 14 points a game for the Nuggets. And again, this is a team with Carmelo Anthony and Allen Iverson on it. So it's difficult to get points on that team. So he obviously was doing a great job, but at some point packed a few of the pounds back on.
And the strength and conditioning coach for Denver, Steve, the South African, is just such an inspirational leader and works with Nene all the time. But Nene appears to have allowed a little bit of slippage into his routine and program.
You can bet George Karl will make sure he's off come the start of the NBA season.
But Nene was outstanding for Denver in their first round playoff competition against San Antonio.
Amari Stoudemire puts it up on the iron, but it won't go down.
There's Splitter. He moves so well for a man of his size. Unlike the other teams in this competition to date, the Brazilians do not appear totally intimidating. Venezuela, Virgin Islands, Canada, sadly, last night we were hoping for a little bit better, but Canada just didn't have enough players. Well, one of the first substitutions here, Tayshaun Prince comes in. I think one of the most wonderful things about this United States roster is that it's so deep, as Chauncey Billups also replaces Jason Kidd, that nobody is playing big minutes at all. You've got Carmelo Anthony is leading the team in scoring, and he's averaging 17 minutes a game. The guy who's playing the most minutes is Tayshaun Prince. He's the team's leading rebounder. He is one of two players, Tayshaun Prince, Michael Redd being the other, averaging over 20 minutes per game.
And these are all guys who are used to averaging around 35 to 40 minutes, if not more than that per game for guys like LeBron James.
And I think that's one of the problems for LeBron and Kobe, is that they're used to working their way into the game and everybody bringing it right to them. That is not the case here. Who wants it from the outset? That's been Carmelo Anthony.
You've seen how they play.
Sonya Riches. Tell me, this ain't your name on the back of your shoe.
Now see how they live.
I'm at a fashion show. Let me call you back.
Visit attblueroom.com/teamusa for exclusive access into your favorite players' world.
So you're probably feeling a lot of adrenaline right now. That's totally normal on your first solo. Don't worry, we only lost 3 this week. It's a joke. Team 1, you're up.
Excuse me? How come you're not freaked out right now? This is nuts! Compared to last weekend, this is nothing!
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Team 2, you're up.
Fellas, welcome to our camp. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Just work together with me. Knock it away from him. Use the board.
If you could go to a camp with Coach K
Bring it in again.
for the same price as one with Coach J,
Taste it! Work it! Nasty!
why wouldn't you?
Right!
It's the same with car insurance. If you could get the personal service of a State Farm agent for the same or less than those other guys, why wouldn't you? Nobody can match our combination of service and low rates. Get a quote today.
Give me the ball.
Your world is wireless, AT&T is wireless. Welcome to America's wireless leader, the new AT&T. Your world delivered.
In Las Vegas, Nevada, where Team USA has jumped out to a 16-10 lead against Brazil. Bill, when you think of Brazil, most of our younger viewers will think of Nene or Barbosa, but there's actually a player, at least in the Olympic level, that was much bigger than those two.
Oscar Schmidt, number 14 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Oscar Schmidt, arguably the greatest player in the history of Olympic men's basketball. This guy is so special. He goes by the one name, the leader leading scorer in the history of Olympic basketball. This guy, Oscar Schmidt, by his unofficial count, has nearly 50,000 career points in a legendary career. He retired in 2003, Oscar Schmidt did. He has more points than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He has 5,000 more points than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had in combining Kareem's regular season points and playoff points, which combined for Kareem to get 44,149. Oscar Schmidt, 49,703 career points. What a player, phenomenal. He went head-to-head with Mike D'Antoni, who's one of the assistant coaches to Krzyzewski, so many times. And this guy, legendary, not only on the court, but his quotes, the way he leads his team, his country. He is easily the most recognized basketball player in the history of Brazil.
And we'll have an interesting class to go into the Hall of Fame.
Yes, well, he retired in 2003, and so he'll be eligible in a couple more years. He's going to be in the same Hall of Fame class, Oscar Schmidt, as Michael Jordan, David Robinson, and John Stockton, in what will arguably be one of the greatest Hall of Fame classes ever. They all retired in the same year, 2003. So 5 years, it'll be the 2008 class. They'll all be unanimous first ballot inductees.
Tayshaun Prince trying to lob it inside to Stoudemire, but Nene got his hand on it and knocked it out of bounds. If you want to talk more about Oscar Schmidt, you think about 87 Pan American games when they knocked off the USA, and then in 88 in the Olympics, the USA came up with the bronze in the Olympics. That's really what started the trend to say, hey, maybe we need to get our best players over there instead of these college kids.
One of Oscar's greatest quotes ever. After one of the games, you know, he's a shooter. He's a guy that put it up. So they asked him about, well, why don't you ever pass the ball? Why do you make all the other guys do all the dirty work at the rebound, set the screens? And he said, Oscar Schmidt, some people play the piano, other people move the piano.
Well, he called that right. Machado knocking down that last shot.
Little forced action that time by M.Redd. Brazil hanging tough. This is a relatively close first quarter by the standards of this tournament for the United States, who have played just brilliant basketball in every aspect. The long-range shooting, something that Brazil always noted for. They do have 3 bronze medals, the Brazilians. The 48 Olympics in London, the 60 Olympics in Rome, and the 64 Olympics in Tokyo. The best they ever did with Oscar was a 6th place finish in the 96 Olympics in Atlanta.
A couple of NBA players hooking up there as Barbosa finds Nene, and he slams it down as Brazil pulls to within 5 of the USA. Under 3 minutes to go here in the first quarter.
Both of these teams will advance to the second round of pool play. The question is, who will they play in what order, and what will eventually be the seeding for the Final Four, which will take place next Saturday night here on ESPN.
Tayshaun Prince with the miss from the outside. Barbosa again. This time he finds Splitter, who just throws it up on the iron. Nothing doing there.
Splitter, his draft rights are owned by the San Antonio Spurs. They're not planning on having him join the team this year, although he looks more than ready right now. He's been a long-time player over in the Spanish League, which has become the #1 international league, and they're planning on him going back. Oh, the beautiful back cut. But Barbosa cannot finish.
Well, Splitter actually has been a pro since he was 15, as the shot is knocked down by Chauncey Billups from the outside. He's been a pro since 15, signed his first contract.
Isn't that what Denny Crum said back in 1987 when the United States lost to Oscar Schmidt and the Brazilians in the gold medal game? Oscar had 46 points in that game, and the U.S. led by 20 at halftime. But after that game, Denny Crum said, hey, we're playing our college amateur players against the other country's professionals, and this is not working.
They did not beat the shot clock there. USA plays great defense again. Of course, Denny Crum, one of your former coaches.
Yes, Denny Crum at UCLA. He was the guy that put all the powerhouses from UCLA together after playing for John Wooden back in the late 50s. Denny Crum then moving on to Louisville after our freshman year, taking his Louisville team in his very first year to the Final Four, where the Bruins waxed Louisville. But Denny Crum in the Hall of Fame himself. Well deserved there.
And a couple of national championships to go with it. Stoudemire down the lane, puts it up on the iron. And again, you can see that rule is it's allowed to be swatted away once it touches the iron.
And it's been more in play in this game, John, than in any of the other games, as the talent level here vastly superior to all the other games.
The opening for De Silva as he drives and drops it in.
And one of the reasons why the attendance is so much better tonight. It's been somewhat disappointing attendance here in Las Vegas, but the sense that this is a real game and the passionate fans from Brazil who follow their teams, and whatever the sport, they come from all around the world to see their team play.
Michael Redd with a rare miss for him. You're right. You talk about Brazil. You think World Cup soccer, of course. 5 championships is the most ever.
And the most recognizable roster, starting with Pelé. Splitter again.
Tayshaun Prince is on the floor.
And Flip Saunders, watching this, cannot be happy with this. Joe Dumars. Tayshaun Prince, who never gets hurt. And this is a guy who, a lot like Jamal Wilkes, so wiry, so frail looking, but just tough as can be, and the look of concern on Mike Krzyzewski's face. We can only hope, and all basketball players can only hope, that Tayshaun is okay.
Now, Bill, this is one of the gambles you take if you're going to play international basketball. We've already seen on Team Canada, just seems to come down funny on it right there. Looks like he stepped on Splitter's ankle, perhaps. But again, we've seen it with Andy Routens, but you're talking about a guy who's now going to miss his junior year of college, which is tough enough. If you're talking about a guy who's making millions and millions of dollars and bringing people into your building and helping you build championships, it's difficult for these owners to let the players play.
But there is insurance out there. We saw with Pau Gasol last year what happened and how that ruined Memphis's season. They're going to carry him off. Keith Jones on the left, Casey Smith on the right. Houston Rockets trainer Keith Jones, Casey Smith, the Dallas Mavericks trainer.
You're right. Never gets hurt.
It is a nightmare, and we can only hope that this is something. It appeared on the replay that Splitter's knee or leg hit Tayshaun's knee right on the side, and so maybe it's just a stinger, and hopefully he'll be able to come back real soon. But the USA, after the quick start led by Carmelo Anthony's 9 points in the opening couple of minutes, they are now finding themselves in a real battle here. Forced shot, and again off the rim.
K.Bryant put it on the rim. Nene swatted it, but the rule is once it hits the rim, you're allowed to go after it.
And once it's on that rim, everybody from either team, that looks like a legal play. And the Brazilians, who are much more with their coach Lula, Tayshaun Prince to the locker room. Maybe Jim Gray is here in attendance.
With what's at stake, I don't think we'll see Tayshaun Prince again tonight. With what's at stake, I think they'll get some ice on that knee, get checked. Kept it alive.
He was out of bounds and jumped in.
Final 4 seconds. Chauncey Billups gets fouled by Barbosa with 2 seconds left in the corner. A bad foul reaching in.
The Brazilians are standing there saying, what is going on? 2 or 3 straight calls. Barbosa makes a good legal play, and then Amari Stoudemire. Now that, even in international basketball, that's against the rules.
The rule is you must reestablish yourself on the floor before you can take control of the basketball, and clearly Amari Stoudemire had not reestablished his footing on the floor.
LeBron James can't get it to go.
Well, this one even a little closer than.
And Brazil looks really good. not intimidated whatsoever. The United States, they have their work cut out for them tonight.
Leading by just 6 after 1.
FIBA World Basketball is the only
John Saunders alongside of Bill Walton. You can see the first quarter leads, and Team Canada really put up a big battle against them in the first quarter yesterday.
Game 1 was Venezuela. That ended up being a rout. Game 2 was the Virgin Islands. That became an onslaught. And Game 3, Canada was so close in the first quarter, but then by halftime, that was the largest margin. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Barbosa with the ball has not been able to get free yet. The defense has just been stifling. Now it's LeBron James on him. How about K.Bryant starting on him? He goes to the bench to put LeBron James on him. Krzyzewski very concerned not to let the tournament's leading scorer get on track.
Size advantage that LeBron brings as well makes it that much more difficult. LeBron James backs in, finds the glass, and lays it up and in.
On Friday, which was the one day off that the United States has had. And right now they're in the second game of 6 in a row with the pool play playoffs coming starting tomorrow night. LeBron James and Jason Kidd were the only 2 players that went over and worked out in a voluntary workout situation. And Spencer Haywood, who's been going to every practice, every game, all the things he's been doing to show the young players as one of the great Olympians of all time for the United States. Spencer Haywood was just amazed at the off-day workout by LeBron James and Jason Kidd. Jason, the oldest player by far on this team, and LeBron James, one of the youngest.
That is amazing that Jay Kidd would be out there at his advanced age of 34. We got a word from the USA locker room that Tayshaun Prince has a sprained ankle. We'll get an update in the second half. Oh! Flying down the lane is Alex Garcia. Now here's a guy who's had just a little bit of time playing in the NBA back in 04, 05, and 03, 04. Played 18 games with the Spurs and the Hornets. But he's a big body type of guard.
He's a strong finisher at the hoop, and he's just another one of the endless list of stars that the San Antonio Spurs have identified from international competition. Nice kick ahead, and Barbosa showing why he is one of the fastest players in all of basketball, regardless of NBA or anything else. But and on a day when we celebrated Tyson Gay's 100-meter championship and the World Championships in Japan, the tie-in between Barbosa and Tyson Gay certainly evident tonight in Las Vegas.
LeBron James' three-pointer on the way is good, and the USA in need of that as Brazil had climbed to within a point. And with these types of games, Bill, as you know with all of your experience, the longer you allow a team to think that you can play with them, the more difficult it is to put them away.
The United States has not intimidated the Brazilians whatsoever. And the fact that so many of these guys play against the United States players in the NBA on a regular basis gives them a real football. Came right back to Carmelo Anthony, who had 9 of the team's first 14 points, disappeared for a minute while Krzyzewski put Carmelo on the bench, but now he is right back in there. And Carmelo Anthony is establishing himself as the premier player on this team, along with Jason Kidd.
If Carmelo comes up with a miss, very often during this tournament, he's been getting his own rebound.
And one of the reasons that's so, John, is because the other team is so concerned with keeping guys like Dwight Howard and Amari Stoudemire off the bench. Splitter strong and impressive to the hoop, and Splitter has been easily Brazil's best player here. And Greg Popovich for San Antonio, they might be saying to themselves, you know what, we're not letting this guy go to Spain again next year.
The only problem is he was their number 28 pick for San Antonio. There's a huge buyout in Spain if they want to get this guy to come to the NBA. That's why they're looking at leaving him there for another year. It's interesting, over in Spain, his number over his entire career has been 21. And he's drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, and they were saying, well, if you go play for the San Antonio Spurs, do you think Tim Duncan will give you number 21?
As selfless as Tim is, Tim would say, hey, I don't really care, but that's not going to happen.
Carmelo Anthony gets fouled hard by Splitter.
What Tim should tell him when he shows up is, hey, if you want to play for this number, we can do that.
That's exactly right. And,
but look at the guys that San Antonio gets late in the first round. They got Tony Parker. Barbosa was drafted by San Antonio, but San Antonio didn't want him at the time. They didn't really know about him because they were trying to get Jason Kidd. So they sold Barbosa's draft rights to Phoenix, thinking we're going to use all that free cap money to get Jason Kidd. Well, Jason Kidd stayed with New Jersey with a huge $100+ million contract, and Barbosa has then come on to shine and really blossom under the tutelage of the D'Antoni brothers, Dan being particularly important with the evolving stardom of Leandro Barbosa.
And with Tony Parker coming along, it turned out quite well that they didn't go spend that money on Jason Kidd, because Tony Parker, the finals MVP this year, has shown he's been a great point guard. Nice, strong drive underneath by Garcia.
And now you're finding the United States team starting to question themselves a little bit, maybe not passing the ball the way they should. Kobe Bryant and LeBron James forcing the action a little bit. Kobe Bryant will earn a trip to the free throw line, but the NBA is without question the dominant league in all of basketball. And there's 53 NBA players representing 23 different teams and 22 countries playing for the qualifying tournaments that are being held around the world right now so that everybody can get to Beijing.
Yeah, that's amazing, that number of NBA players in international play. At one time, you never would have thought of it, although in reality, it's been going on for years. It's just that they were considered amateurs if you played over in Europe or in South America and such. Whether or not you were getting paid, didn't matter. Oh, nice little bounce pass underneath down there by Batista.
South America, much more noted for their soccer. There's, as far as we can tell, there's only one Latin American player in the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts, and that was a female, Hortensia, who was in the class of 2005. Hortensia, who just put women's athletics in all of South America on the map. In fact, Hortensia, she is named after the hydrangea plant. She is so beautiful as a player that they just called her after the plant, and she really blossomed there as Dwight Howard excited about the addition of Donald Foyle to be his backup now in Orlando, and the addition of Rashard Lewis and the new coach in Stan Van Gundy. So things happening in Central Florida for the Orlando Magic with the new building coming too.
Such a wordsmith with the flowers and the blossoming and everything. The flow is such. Brazil again keeping this thing close. Just a 5-point game. Anthony dumps down on the block. Kobe Bryant
is overpowering the Brazilian
Garcia
down low. But give Brazil credit, John. They have not allowed the United States to get up and down and make it a track meet, make it a slam dunk highlight session, which every other game has turned out to be.
Kobe Bryant very nearly had the steal, or rather Mari Stoudemire stepped out of bounds.
But Brazil, which is the Earth's 5th biggest country and also has the 5th largest population.
190 million.
Yes. And they have the largest population of Japanese outside of Japan, of any country in the world.
These are the facts you find out about doing the FIBA championship. Jason Kidd taking it the distance, gets fouled on the way in. And that's what Jason Kidd wants to get Team USA out and doing. They haven't done much of in this game. They've been living off of this during the rest of the tournament.
But in other games, Jason has been up and down the court, and there's been guys on the wing. Now it's a very ragged game for the United States. And while they've played overwhelmingly dominant basketball against their 3 previous opponents, that has not been the case here, and that has to be of grave concern for Mike Krzyzewski.
Team USA's qualifying for the 2008 Olympics continues tomorrow. The quarterfinal round begins at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. The top 8 teams will play another round robin, with the top 4 making the semifinal. There are 2 spots in Beijing up for grabs in the FIBA America's Championship. Remember, all USA games are also available live on ESPN360.com.
A lot of the field of 12 is starting to get set now. The European tournament starts after Labor Day. African tournament just concluded with Angola beating Cameroon. And there's a timeout on the court. LeBron James and Jason Kidd will talk this one over.
These are our seats right here.
Yeah?
That Brazil is shooting the ball very well. Splitter, Nene are competing inside against more skilled, more talented, more players who have a greater notoriety, and Jason Kidd has not been able to get out in transition. So the defense, so vaunted for the United States early on, has not been controlling. LeBron James rolls in the sky hook from the baseline. And just like that, it's a 10-point game.
I'm going to say flying to the basket as well. And that's the problem for the rest of the teams in this tournament facing Team USA, is they can grab 10, 15 points in a hurry. Nice little step to the basket by Garcia, but he can't get it to drop.
Carmelo Anthony still the leading scorer, 13 points on 5 for 8 shooting. He does have 6 rebounds. LeBron in nice support with 10 points on 4 for 6 shooting. Splitter leads the way with 9 points and 5 boards for Brazil.
DeRosa coming in for Brazil. Batista will get a rest.
John, I know you weren't born then, but 35 years ago today, 35 years ago today was the opening ceremony for the Munich Olympics in '72. Where the United States lost for the first time, and a very controversial finish, and then the tragedy of what happened with the terrorism, guys who went after the Israeli athletes, and just how awful that was. And an unbelievable movie by Steven Spielberg, Munich. Oh, so powerful, so scary.
Still the images of Jim McKay, saying they're all gone, and we'll never forget.
And the world has never been the same.
No, you're exactly right. Jason Kidd on the bench with a 10-point lead right now.
Jason actually missed a shot. It was a free throw. So it won't affect his field goal percentage, which is still perfect. Or he missed a shot?
Missed a layup. Remember, somebody went up and took it off the rim.
I must have blinked.
Chauncey Billups, the full-court pressure from Barbosa. Double team comes up now.
Now this is stunning. Brazil pressing the United States. Who would have ever thought?
K.Bryant from outside, and that's what happens when you press. You leave open shooters, and K.Bryant makes them pay.
Well, that's what you want to do, is attack it and turn it into a fast break opportunity. Too many teams, though, they come out and they just get conservative. They turn their back to the attacking zone, and they just end up not being assertive at all.
Time running down, and again, another shot clock violation by Brazil, as we've talked plenty about the defense of Team USA during this tournament.
Penetration and dish. LeBron James off to K.Bryant. You've got to go to LeBron because he's been throwing him down with impunity out there. Be a perfect time for the United States to go on a little spurt right here. Try to create some separation. The ball movement picking up a little bit.
M.Redd for 3 is no good.
That's different than the type of shots M.Redd has been getting in the first 3 games prior to tonight, where he's been wide open. He's been the spot-up finisher on the weak side.
D'Souza with an entry pass. Tie-up. Nene got tied up with Stoudemire, but no call on the play.
Nene is saying, what's going on here? If you look at the leading scorers, Barbosa with the 36-point effort against the Virgin Islands last night, and a come-from-behind victory. Batista, Uruguay, who's been absolutely spectacular, and Carmelo Anthony leading a balanced U.S. attack.
But you talk about balance, Brazil has not. Oh, what a feed into Amari Stoudemire from LeBron James.
We're seeing LeBron much more in a playmaking role tonight. He's really been off the ball and rarely having it in his hands, other than a few spectacular throwdowns in transition. But as the United States forced to play more half-court basketball than at any point in this tournament up till tonight, now they're getting to their guys who can create who can finish, and Amari Stoudemire can throw him down with the best of them.
Let me ask you this, Bill, as I've watched every USA game and many others in the tournament thus far. It seems to me another difference between the play here in the NBA is they seem to let them play a little more.
Which is good. I like that. But what the NBA has done to their credit is try to clean up the contact away from the ball.
Michael Redd with that shot.
That's Michael Redd's game. Forcing Lula, the coach of Brazil, to take a much-needed timeout.
Well, in the USA for a while, which was challenged by Brazil right now, has built a 16-point lead. Part of it, a little feed from star to star.
I'm Tamika Catching. Diana Taurasi.
Sherry Nelson.
I'm Peekaboo Street.
And I got something to say.
Female athletes have to overcome the
standings in Group A. Things are still up for grabs. Things have been settled. Virgin Islands are out of Group B. But right now, Puerto Rico would be in if Argentina knocks off Panama tonight, which is most likely.
Argentina's heavy favorites in that.
Yeah, I would think so. And if that happens and the United States continues and goes on to beat Brazil, then their opening round game in the next round, the semifinal round, will be tomorrow against Puerto Rico.
And the United States lost to Puerto Rico the last time in the Olympics in 2004, the opening game, after spanking them in an exhibition game, which Puerto Rico just laid down, didn't even play hard. That was in Jacksonville, Florida. Then they go over to Athens, and Carlos Arroyo comes out and looks at all the stars: Allen Iverson, Tim Duncan, LeBron, Carmelo, Lamar Odom, Sean Marion, and says, hey, take this out of the net, big guys, and take that back to the United States, because Puerto Rico is winning this one.
Nene now fights his way to the basket, has to bring it back outside to De Silva. Again, USA working hard on defense.
Wild
shot from way outside. Battle for the ball underneath results in a foul against Amari Stoudemire.
Brazil, which is a country that covers nearly half of all of South America and is the easternmost country of any place in the Western Hemisphere.
Now, you gave me the whole time zone explanation about Newfoundland in Canada. Now, you got any time zone talk when it comes to Brazil?
Well, they border every nation on the entire South American continent except Chile and Ecuador.
Oh, okay. I knew you had something for me. De Silva with 6 points. He's perfect from the free throw line. Phillips from the outside is no good.
The United States is not fast breaking, and they still have 50 points and a comfortable 14-point lead. It has not been the 53-point explosion that we see in terms of the final point differential, but a lot of basketball to be played tonight.
Silva dishes it off to Nene. No good, and Amari Stoudemire might have been out of bounds when he cut that one too.
For the second time tonight, Nene just doesn't have the strength, the conditioning, the lift, or the explosion to finish at the basket area against this type of competition.
LeBron James showing his moves. Good job defensively by Brazil. LeBron says, okay, I'll offer up a three. No good. Rebounded by Barbosa, but taken away by K.Bryant.
The three-point shooting has been superb for the United States throughout this tournament, something that's really been a problem in the last few international competition. And Brazil doesn't even take the ball out of bounds when they throw it up. It's like a pickup game down at the gym in the summertime.
Allowing Michael Redd, the outside shooter, to drive. Machado gets fouled as he drives down the lane.
The penetration and dish, but Nene, too much double clutching. And you just have to get that ball and rise up and try to throw it down, and with your momentum carrying you to the hoop, the referee will be forced to blow the whistle.
Stoudemire definitely intimidated him on that one. LeBron James with the steal. Ahead to K.Bryant, who tries to go back to Chauncey Billups, but gets fouled.
Kobe's defense was outstanding, but then that was a perfect example of the speed of Barbosa. He was able to catch K.Bryant from behind. And with just 27 seconds to go, we have to bring up another great quote by Oscar Schmidt, because it was 1992 in this Tournament of the Americas played in Portland, and Brazil went down in a heartbreaking loss to Venezuela, their arch rival. And we'll continue that story when we come back from this break.
And that is exactly what you call a tease, Mr. Walton. Nicely done.
You've seen how they play.
There it is.
Now see how they live.
Vegas, Nevada, FIBA America's Championship basketball. John Saunders and Bill Walton. The United States has stretched their lead now to 52-36. The closest anyone has been at halftime, though, to Team USA was game number 1, Venezuela, and they were down by 25.
And then the United States went on to blow them out in the second half, excuse me. But the story was that Oscar Schmidt, after going down to bitter defeat against their rivals Venezuela, the winner goes on to play the United States for the gold medal. And after the game, everybody thought, well, Oscar would be so sad, so devastated. He's standing on the court signing autographs for the children. And they come up to him, the reporters, and say, how can you come and sign these autographs for the children after just going down to this bitter defeat against your arch rivals Venezuela? And Oscar looked back at him and smiled and said, this is not war. The children are not at fault. What a class act. And that's one of the reasons why Oscar is going into the Basketball Hall of Fame with Michael Jordan, John Stockton, and David Robinson.
I want a ticket to that induction ceremony.
They're already gone. But, John, you can get in.
My only shot I have to get in is if I go in to see your bust. Brazil again working a lot of the shot clock, and Amari Stoudemire finally comes over and fouls De Silva.
The Brazilians are more physically fit and developed than any of the other opponents that the United States has played in this tournament, Venezuela, the Virgin Islands, and Canada. You can just see by their stature, the way they walk, the way they stand, and the confidence. I mean, with a huge talent pool to draw from, the guys who don't play soccer, and now with the emergence because of the NBA joining international basketball competition, all these young players growing up dream and say, hey, I can make something out of my life. I can use basketball to create a better world for myself and my family.
LeBron James banks it in for 3. And a little celebration at halftime for LeBron and Team USA. That's a little icing on the cake that wasn't even necessary.
In transition, LeBron with the clock right in front of him, clearly out of his hand, and the red light goes off. 3 points, LeBron James. The United States extends their halftime lead against Brazil.
Team USA continues what they hope will be a march for nailing down a berth in the Beijing Olympics next year. They have to come up number 1 or number 2 in this tournament. Tonight, in just 10 minutes of play, Carmelo Anthony with 13 points.
And LeBron James with a strong finish. He comes up as the leading scorer of the United States with 15.
57-38. You're watching the FIBA America's Championship from Las Vegas.
You've seen how they...
And the one that stands out, the bottom line there, Brazil did not score in the final 6 minutes and 8 seconds of the half.
The United States defense, which has been superb throughout the tournament, really tightened the screws. Shocking that the United States gets out-rebounded in this game, but both teams shooting well above 50%. The turnovers, though, John, the real story here, Brazil with only 8. And we say only 8 because every other opponent, Venezuela, Virgin Islands, Canada, has been nearly 20 turnovers per game.
Exactly. We'll see if they can turn that up. AT&T halftime highlights.
Because there were so few turnovers, the United States was forced to play half-court basketball. And with the defense just stepping back off LeBron James, off Carmelo Anthony, excuse me, he's able to knock it down. And Carmelo was the star early on, as he always is, scoring 9 of the 14 points in the opening couple of minutes. And the nice lob pass to Amari Stoudemire, and LeBron James to beat the buzzer at the half, banks in straight away the three-point shot. And the big three, LeBron, Carmelo, and Kobe were the leading scorers for the United States with 15, 13, and 10 respectively.
Barbosa, who is leading this tournament.
K.Bryant guarding you. And K.Bryant, when he puts his mind to it, is an outstanding defensive player. And Kobe has the help of every other member of his team because Barbosa doesn't have the arsenal of weapons he can pass to. Nice pass there, though. Nene cannot finish.
That's not good for Brazil because you cannot be squandering points, especially when they come the other way. Dwight Howard misses the putback.
So both teams, big men, missing dunks on the opening sequences.
Nene gets that one to drop, though.
And you would like to say that was a fast break and Nene really running the floor hard. I'm not sure if he got back, though. He was just waiting for the play to come back up.
Well, that's the benefit of you big guys. You can do that once in a while. Oh, wait a second. We're coming back the other way now? Perfect. Trying to make it a three-point play.
I'm excited about Denver's chances this year, although they're going to have to deal with the loss of Steve Blake, who was tremendous for them. And then how will J.R. Smith fit back into the rotation after the very disappointing end to last season with the Nuggets when he was basically a disruptive influence, and George Karl said, please stay away from our team. You're ruining things here.
K.Bryant with a three. You're right. Blake was a steadying influence after the Allen Iverson trade, and then he brought him in after that. And it seemed when they were trying to find themselves with the two stars, Blake really settled things down for him.
Well, he is now back in Portland, where he started the season, and Portland really missed him, and so they realized what they had, so they gave him a nice free agent contract. But now who's going to handle the ball in just the casual set-it-up type situation, the way Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups and Darren Williams have been doing with a magnificent leadership here from the point guard position for the United States.
Barbosa, I'm not sure that was a pass or whether or not he just lost it.
He's having a very tough evening here in Las Vegas. Leandro Barbosa is just 24 years of age, the youngest of 5 children, grew up desperately poor in Sao Paulo in a 2-room apartment. It was just an awful situation. And then when he first got to Phoenix, he went into the locker room. He showed up with no money, no clothes, no shoes, nothing. And so his first night there, he slept in the team's locker room, which is an absolutely just palatial estate there. And he walked in and said, this is nicer than anything I've ever been. He just slept there the first night.
Carmelo Anthony with a nice throwdown, but you're right. This is Barbosa grew up working in a farmer's market.
Right.
And so, as you said, it's just another example of how basketball, as they say, basketball without borders, one of the NBA's slogans, turned things around. And right now, things have turned again in favor of the USA as they try and put away Brazil here early in the second half.
You've seen how they play.
I don't even know how many rooms we have here.
Now see how they live.
This is the way you get around to the primetime script.
Visit attblueroom.com/sports for exclusive access into your favorite players' worlds.
Hey, we need some driving music. Okay. All right, this one.
When the mood for something spicy hits you, check out McDonald's latest snack sensation, the Chipotle Barbecue Snack Wrap. Juicy all-white chicken breast meat and a smoky sweet sauce with a kick.
I'm Tamika Catching. Diane Taurasi.
Sherry Nelson.
I'm Peekaboo Street.
And I got something to say.
Female athletes have to overcome the bias that their game isn't as good as the men's game.
Are boys bigger, stronger, faster? Yes. Is that all that has to do with being an athlete? No.
The half pipe doesn't care that I'm a girl.
26-point lead as we're only a couple of minutes into the third quarter. But let's continue talking about basketball without borders, though.
It has become the signature event on the international stage for the NBA. And every year, the NBA goes to the 4 different continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, and South America. And this year, Basketball Without Borders from the NBA went to Sao Paulo. And everybody involved said it was absolutely the best. Now, years ago, the NBA would have the International Clinic program that had Jack Ramsey and Calvin Murphy and Hubie Brown, all Hall of Famers. They'd go there, and they were in Sao Paulo back in the early 90s. But then to come back this year to go to Leandro Barbosa's hometown and to be able to put on this incredible event where they bring in so many different young people, disadvantaged guys, and they give them the experience and really help them learn what it takes to become a real basketball player. And it has showed, as these Brazilians really do have game now.
But it's just incredible when you see the looks on the faces of the kids in these basketball without borders and NBA cares. Splitter now trying to back in Carmelo Anthony, moved around. Machado from outside beats the buzzer.
And John, I know you're very involved in that. You were over in the Congo this summer with the Dikembe Mutombo.
We were. LeBron James knocking that down. Dikembe opened a hospital in Kinshasa in the name of his mother, Marie Mutombo, and it was really quite emotional being there and seeing the conditions of the general hospital that was already there and that's been there 50 years and that is basically falling apart, and seeing the state-of-the-art facility that Dikembe has been able to build with donations from Alonzo Mourning and Juwan Howard and the Patrick
brothers.
Ewings and the Maloof brothers and so many other NBA players and stars. And Jalen Rose, another one.
And while you were there, you stepped forward and you are now the sponsor of a major orphanage there.
My family is going to take on 27 orphans, and we're going to fund them monthly. So
congratulations and thank you, John, for making this world a better and saner place.
It was an incredible trip. It's incredible what Dikembe means to his people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, I would suspect, Bill, that Coach Krzyzewski, in his talk at halftime, he knows his team is going to win this game. Carmelo Anthony with 3 again. But his halftime talk is, let's bury these guys. Let's prove that we are back again as the #1 team on the international stage. These guys thought they could play with us for a quarter. Let's bury them right now in the second half.
And they've done that with defense. K.Bryant has been the initiator of that defense. Now, everyone else has helped, yes, but Barbosa, he still has just 3 points. And there's a guy, 36 points last night. He's leading the tournament in 27 points per game. And when you're able to put the clamps on the other team's best player to where he basically just wants to throw in the towel and go to the bench and get this thing over with, then the rest of the team just crumbles because there's no leadership, there's no spark, there's no spirit, and worst of all, there's no hope. The same hope that you have given to those 27 orphans over in the Congo. Thank you, John. We love you for that.
Thank you. It's very easy to look in their faces and do that. Well, Brazil trying to find a way to get this offense going. Splitter with the ball, who's been impressive early in the game.
Splitter's the leading scorer for Brazil, and they need every bit of that. He tips one in on the offensive glass right there. Splitter can play right now in the NBA. They should do something with the contract and figure that one out quickly. To San Antonio, even though they've won 4 championships in the Tim Duncan era, they've never been able to do it back-to-back. And that was their challenge this year. And the fact that Manu Ginobili is not playing for Argentina, a nice throwdown by K.Bryant, who looks so much different having lost those 18 pounds with a new diet and a whole new approach. But how's it going to play out for Kobe when he gets back to the team, the Lakers, and he sees the same roster that he just trashed in May during the NBA playoffs?
Well, and he has to go face-to-face with young Andrew Bynum.
Well, that's going to be a huge challenge for Kobe and for Phil Jackson.
But you know what? Kobe seems to fight his way through these things somehow. He always seems to find a way to fight his way through these controversies. Nene loses the ball down low as LeBron James is there to guard him.
But I learned from the very first time I sat with Coach Wooden when I was 15 years old, and he said, Bill, your ultimate level of achievement, happiness, success, and accomplishment in life is not going to be based on you. It's going to be based on how good those guys next to you are. That's why, Bill, you should come to UCLA and play with Jamal Wilkes and Greg Lee and Larry Hollyfield and Henry Bibby and Dave Myers and Marcus Johnson and Swen Naylor and Larry Farmer and an endless list of stars.
And you said, where do I sign?
That sounds really good to me.
Ball on the floor, fighting for it. Loose ball foul. It's going to go against Dwight Howard.
The Centers have not had the impact in this tournament that you would think. Yes, they've dunked a bunch, and yes, they've blocked some shots, but as talented and as dominating as Dwight Howard and Amari Stoudemire are, you would think that with this type of competition in international basketball and the overall decline of the center position, that these guys would just be putting up huge numbers and getting every rebound, blocking every shot, and dunking everything in the basket area.
Well, so many fast breaks and so much three-point shooting.
And the three-point shooting has been spectacular. It was the real Achilles heel of the United States in the last three debacles in Indianapolis in 02, Athens 04, Japan 06. But right now, coming into tonight, the United States was shooting 46% from behind the arc in the tournament. Great defense by Chauncey Billups, just roofing Barbosa.
So has had a very, very difficult time of it tonight for the leading scorer. I want to remind everybody the WNBA playoffs continue Tuesday at 7 Eastern time on ESPN2. Game 3 of the Eastern Conference matchup between the defending champion Detroit Shock and the New York Liberty. Then at 9 on Eastern, it's Phoenix Mercury and Diana Taurasi hosting Lauren Jackson and the Seattle Storm. Both are elimination games, Bill. WNBA playoffs on ESPN2.
The Liberty, they're playing. They were down big in this game at Detroit, game 2. All they need to do is win one of the two at Detroit. They were down. They came all the way back and really made it a game. Had a chance to win at the end. Detroit, they've got to start thinking to themselves, this is going to be a lot harder than we initially thought. New York not having a good regular season. This is the playoffs.
Detroit, a loaded team, and a team that's won 2 championships under Bill Laimbeer. Mike Miller, who hasn't seen a lot of time tonight, misses from the outside.
Well, it's been a much different game for the United States, and this is an important game because now they're having to play half-court basketball. It's not just the Harlem Globetrotters up and down in the exhibition. But even though it's a 30-point game right now, it is a game that has not been so one-sided that has just been nothing but highlight reel material for the United States.
Michael Redd that time off the feed from Miller. Those 2 3-point shooters added to this team. Redd would have been part of the team a year ago.
But he was getting married, and so he was excused for personal reasons. Nene just can't.
That's no excuse, by the way.
What is an excuse? What is a valid excuse, sir?
Having a child. Okay. I'll let you go for that. Chauncey Billups from outside. 3-point field goal shooting, 14 to 25 compared to Brazil, 2 for 11.
Everybody involved with the United States team continually brings up the camaraderie on the squad, and that was a classic example. K.Bryant up off the bench leading the cheers. To me, it all stems from the coach, Krzyzewski, from the administrator, Jerry Colangelo, and from Jason Kidd, the motor, the guy who has set just the perfect example. And Lula over there wondering what he can do to get his offense untracked. Because this team just came off winning the Pan American Games, where the Brazilians spent $2 million in putting on arguably the greatest Pan American Games ever. And they're making a big push, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, to get the 2016 Olympics. The Olympics have never been held in South America. The closest it's ever been is Mexico City in '68. With it being in London in 2012, maybe Rio de Janeiro has a great chance. What a city that is.
Now, again, to go back to your geographical wisdom, isn't it winter down there when it's summer up here?
85% of Brazil is in the tropics.
Is that?
So it's always
okay.
That's why 18 months ago in February of 06, the Rolling Stones went down there. And they went down and they played a free concert on Copacabana Beach. And they said that there was 1 million people when the concert started, and by the time the concert ended, there was 2 million people. They had to build a bridge from the hotel across to the stage so that they could get the band from the hotel. The stage was facing the Sugarloaf Mountain right there in Rio, and it was just unbelievably spectacular. And oh, what a time.
You were among the millions? I'm guessing you were.
I can only wish. I was not there the other night in London, though, when the Stones played in the new arena and had the new anti-smoking rule in all of England. Now, I'm adamantly opposed to smoking of all kinds.
So am I.
But Keith Richards and Ron Wood, they sparked one up on the stage. And everybody got all upset because they were the only people smoking in the entire building. And there were threats of canceling the concert mid-song. But they were able to make some sort of accommodation and get through the performance.
I guarantee you, it was Europe. There were a lot of people smoking outside the building. And Brazil now just trying to salvage somewhat of a little bit of respect right now and try and take that, as Dos Santos was at the line, try and take that into the quarterfinal round.
But we basically have a 40-point game here. And Brazil is the second best team in this tournament. Argentina is undefeated. They're in the other pool. And the way things are likely to play out is that Argentina and Brazil will be the second and third seeds in the Final Four.
Well, let's also be realistic when you talk about Brazil being the second best team. Brazil struggled against the Virgin Islands. Brazil did not blow out Canada. Brazil did not blow out Venezuela.
Argentina is rolling. They're playing very good basketball, but they don't have their best players.
Right.
Their top 5 guys are not here. You don't have Manu Ginobili. You don't have Nociones. You don't have Alberto. And so that's just another indication of how far Argentina has come. And they're sending their second-tier guys, and they're still rolling through Pool A in the Tournament of the Americas.
Splitter, nice move, won't go down.
Splitter has to learn that you never execute the shot that you just picked, particularly against top competition.
Chauncey Billups,
what a pass.
In the corner, finds Amari Stoudemire. Splitter thought he had a clean block, and I'm not so sure he didn't.
When I look at Amari Stoudemire this year and I see Leandro Barbosa playing in this game, I'm just thinking what it's going to mean to have Grant Hill added to that roster and what he means, because Grant Hill is a champion on and off the court. And his leadership, his experience, to be able to play 15 to 25 minutes a game, and his cerebral approach to how you play this game, learning from Coach K, learning from his dad, the great Calvin Hill from the Dallas Cowboys. And everything so perfect in Grant Hill's life for so long, and then the injuries just devastated his career. This is exciting here. You look at the FIBA World Rankings.
Can you figure this out for me, please?
Well, Brazil ranked 17th, below such teams like Angola, Turkey, Puerto Rico, New Zealand, not the traditional powers. But Brazil, they stunk it up in the World Championships in Japan last year, only winning 1 game and finished 19th in the World Championship. So that's the reason for their low ranking.
Nice of you not to disrespect my Canadian team that was above them as well.
Well, Splitter. But John, realistically, Canada has 32 million people to draw from. That's such a small talent pool. United States, 300 million. Brazil, 190 million. China, 1.3 billion. I mean, you're going to get some good players out of the genetic lottery pool there.
Batista with the offering, and Stoudemire was out there. Got a hand on it.
Brazil is the only country in South America that has the Portuguese roots. Everybody else speaks Spanish.
That's right.
But in Brazil, they speak Portuguese. And it was claimed by Portugal in 1500s. And the name, Brazil, the early explorers from Portugal, they brought back a wood that produced a red dye that was used in Portuguese commerce. And that wood was called pau-Brazil. And that's how Brazil got its name, from that wood that produced that very important dye.
Well, it's also interesting you mentioned Portugal, because Portugal also ran the Congo, the home of Dikembe Mutombo, and they didn't gain their independence until the 1950s, while Brazil gained theirs in the 1800s.
Well, the Congo's a lot closer.
To Brazil, yes.
To Portugal.
To Portugal, yes.
All they had to do was go down instead of across the Atlantic.
Well, the United States set out to establish world dominance again, and I know we're only 4 games in, but this has been extremely impressive for Mike Krzyzewski. Especially, there were people who wondered if it was possible to get it done. When Coach K got named to be the head coach, and then such a disappointing result last year, World Championship, coming off with a bronze medal, people were beginning to wonder if, well, maybe it has passed us by.
Well, with Vasilis and Spinolis just torching the United States in the semifinals of the World Championship in Japan last year, they realized that they needed someone bigger, stronger, more experienced, more mature at the peak of their game. That's why Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups are back. Jason Kidd, that wonderful halftime feature from the 2000 Sydney Olympics, where he was part of that spectacular team coached by Rudy Tomjanovich, who's the scout now for this Team USA.
Carmelo Anthony, you've said he's made for this game, this international game. For whatever reason, Carmelo Anthony, and he is also someone who is so dedicated right now, because that sour taste in his mouth from the Athens Olympics, when he sat on the bench and watched his teammates get the bronze medal, and he said that Larry Brown basically shook his confidence.
And Carmelo Anthony has realized what a golden opportunity, because he's not a player, Carmelo, who you just give the ball to. You can do that, but he plays a different style than LeBron and Kobe, who have the ball in their hands all the time. And they're really the franchise. They're really the playmakers. But Carmelo, who's more of an off-the-ball type player, great post-up player, tremendous offensive rebounder, but the ability to move without the ball in combination of playing with Jason Kidd in a totally unselfish atmosphere. Carmelo Anthony, he is going to be the leading scorer throughout this tournament, and most likely for the Olympics next year. Although the marketing opportunities, why everybody is so determined to get into those Beijing games, because the world is moving toward the Chinese economy. And, sadly, we're just seeing all the negative stories about the pollution in China right now. And never forget that without clean air, without clean water, what do we really have?
Well, having been in Africa, I can answer that. Barbosa.
Unable to find the mark at all. And one of the things that Barbosa is so good at is we have a timeout on the court here with the United States leading by yet again another incalculable margin. Coach Lula for Brazil is going to have to come up with a 40.
United States, take a look at the higher play of the game. It's really a couple plays. First, Carmelo throws it down.
Moving without the ball, the beautiful lob pass. Mike Miller ecstatic, but then the ball is stolen, and LeBron James gets it, able to stick it in himself and earn a trip to the free throw line. A 5-point play for the United States as they extend their lead one more time. And now look, the United States to start the fourth quarter playing a zone defense here, working on possible future scenarios where they might play a close game, and that has not been the case in this tournament, John.
No, at the end of the third quarter against Venezuela, led by 41, against Virgin Islands 44, Canada 46, tonight 47. So it's a scary thing. This team's actually getting better. Brazil, much the same as every opponent thus far for the USA. Just in that frustration mode of tossing up any type of shot and hoping that it'll go down.
But of all the teams that I've seen in this tournament, Brazil is clearly the second best team. And that just shows you the dominance of the United States and the determination and commitment that the Americans are playing with. No messing around, because other tournaments, ones that they've lost, they've started out very well, but then they've always come into chemistry problems, issues with the coach, selfishness. None of that has come into play. In fact, the United States, they have played better as every game has gone along, and that's a testament to the coach in getting these players to realize the importance of focus and commitment.
Mike Miller's three-pointer won't go. And there's Carmelo Anthony taking a break, once again leading the team in scoring.
And with them playing 6 consecutive games, because last night it was Canada, tonight Brazil, and then 4 straight second-round games before next Friday's day off, and then the Final Four on Saturday. And the winners of the Final Four, they are in the Olympics. Both teams who win on Saturday night, and we'll have both of those games on ESPN next Saturday.
And the teams that finish 3, 4, and 5 still have a chance to get into the Olympics. They'll have to play in a qualifier next summer in July.
Penetration and dish, but the inability to finish, as Coach Lula for Brazil has gone to his second-tier players.
Batista sticks that one in.
And the overwhelming depth of the United States makes the 6 in a row a relative cakewalk.
Well, when
you're only playing 15 minutes a game. And the other teams, they don't have that luxury, because most every other game has been extremely competitive, although Argentina has been able to cruise in a lot of their games. Unlike Brazil. Brazil down in the second quarter to Virgin Islands. The Virgin Islands already eliminated from this tournament, so they'll be going back to the beach, I guess.
Here are the teams that are already in the Beijing Olympics. China, of course, is the host. And we will crown 2 more teams to go in at the end of this tournament. Again, the teams that finish with the gold and silver here will qualify for next year's Olympics. Teams 3, 4, and 5 will have a chance, with 4 teams from Europe and several other teams from around the nation, around the country, rather. The world is what I'm trying to say, Bill.
I knew exactly what you were talking about, John.
Couldn't get myself outside of the borders.
You were thinking about the Rolling Stones, I know.
Moving the ball again nicely. And finally, Brazil gets to knock one down.
I think this game's tone was set by K.Bryant. The way he came out and put the clamps on Barbosa early on and just said, you're not going anywhere. Granted, Kobe is bigger and stronger, more mature, and clearly a better player than Leandro Barbosa. But, you know, when you put the work in that K.Bryant did early on, that just sets the tone for the whole game. And the United States was off to the races.
You know, it was Garcia that knocked down that last three-pointer, and he looked very, very good early in this game. And he's one of those guys that we talked about, very powerful, has some time in the NBA, a handful of games in the NBA. But it just shows how the USA is so strong, it wears them down.
And go back to when the United States played Oscar Schmidt and Brazil in the '92 Tournament of the Americas. Chuck Daly, he said, Charles Barkley, you guard Oscar Schmidt. And Charles did a tremendous job and shut down Oscar, and the United States was able to cruise on to victory.
Wait a second, are you telling me Charles Barkley played great defense?
Yes, and that was 15 years ago. Charles Barkley was an incredible player, as unique a player who has ever played. Like David Thompson, relatively minute in terms of size, but his ability to fight for that ball underneath the basket, his timing, his passion, he had it all.
There's no question. Sir Charles, one of the 50 greatest players, alongside of my partner here tonight, Mr. Bill Walton. That's got to be one of the, I mean, Hall of Fame is a great honor, but to be named among the top 50 players of all time?
Oh my gosh. I don't deserve it, but I'm not gonna turn it down, John.
You're not giving it back?
Well, they haven't asked me to, so.
Giovannini.
Aaron Williams running the point now for the United States. A tremendous learning opportunity for this young budding star. To be able to work with this kind of talent around him. Nice pass inside. That's a throwdown by Dwight Howard.
Perfect pass. He had everyone thinking shot, but he had Howard in his eyesight the entire time.
But to be able to learn under Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups, the two premier point guards in the American game. Now, Steve Nash is the best point guard in basketball. He's the best player in basketball as far as I'm concerned. Should have been the MVP again this past year, but lost out as second-place finisher to Dirk Nowitzki.
They didn't call that a shot clock violation, but it's as close as you can get, and that would have been above the 6th or 7th. Mike Miller just comes down and lights up a three-pointer. The USA goes over the century mark again.
The way these players have accepted their roles. Nobody's complaining about minutes played. Nobody's complaining about shots. Now, granted, it helps when you win your games by 53 points per outing. But Krzyzewski has created an atmosphere of everybody having a great time, and only one thing matters, and that's winning the game.
Brazil's getting their shots off.
A little late, though.
But much too late. DeRosa knocking that one down. Does this have any effect on the teams other than the United States? Howard fights that one up. Does it affect them as far as how they play in the rest of the tournament? In other words, coming off a game when you've been humiliated and lost by 50 points, does that take something out of you when you now have to go and play against another team that you should be able to handle easily?
Absolutely, yes. Because what happens is that your spirit is crushed. And there's one of the great books ever, Studs Terkel. He wrote a book called Hope Dies Last. And it's all these incredible vignettes about people who just are up against it in literally every aspect of life itself. But they never stop fighting. But what happens here is that these guys come out and they think they're really good, and then they come up against the United States, and Leandro Barbosa, I mean, does he have more than 3 points? I mean, he doesn't have very many more than 3. And so all of a sudden your star player gets totally shut down. Nene is missing dunks time and time again. And Splitter has really been, Splitter and Garcia, Machado, they've been okay tonight. So what happens now, they're going to go back to their hotel in Las Vegas and they're going to say, you know what, we can't get this done.
We're not as good as we thought we were.
We're not that good. And to be able to try to turn that around and try to lift those spirits while hope dies last, the Brazilians' hopes have been crushed tonight. And that's a very difficult thing to overcome.
And it's in a city where hope dies first a lot of times. Las Vegas. This has a few people on the casino floor.
John, this is the difference in the separation here is not about a few minor technical adjustments, not about a substitution pattern or maybe wrong play calling.
Tyson Chandler, you see with the block there, that's why he's on the team, for his defensive ability, one of the shot blocking leaders in the NBA. But again, it looked like they had an easy deuce.
Gosh, I really hope it works in New Orleans with the NBA and the Hornets going back there. Those poor people down in New Orleans, they deserve something good happening to them.
Michael Redd knocks down another three-pointer as Team USA is on its way to ending pool play undefeated.
You've seen how they play.
Sonya Richards, tell me, this ain't your name.
is wireless, AT&T is wireless. Welcome to America's wireless leader, the new AT&T. Your world delivered.
2007 FIBA America's Championships. The leading scorer coming into this game was Leandro Barbosa with 27 points per game. He had a 30-plus game as well, but tonight held to just 4 points.
K.Bryant put the clamps on him early on, and never forget that Leandro Barbosa is just 24 years old, just getting started. Didn't speak a word of English when he came to the NBA. He comes in behind Steve Nash, which is a very difficult thing to do, but he's a totally different player than Steve. Steve is looking to pass the ball. Leandro, he's a shooter. He's a scorer. And without anybody else to create, Leandro he's one of those speed merchants. He just gets out and flies, but he's trying to play 1 against 5. Nene is not in shape, and the rest of his teammates aren't that good, so he was up against it from the outset. And the determination of the USA, realizing how important this game was and an opportunity to make a statement, that statement was hammered home throughout the game tonight.
And if you're Coach Lula, right now that clock can't tick fast enough for you. If you want to get this team to be able to forget about this going into the quarter-final round.
And it's going to be important for someone to go and put their arm around Barbosa and say, it's okay. We got a long life, a long career. And the perfect guy to do that would be Oscar Schmidt, who never met a shot that he didn't like. Because when you're a scorer, you just got to keep shooting. The great quote ever was when Larry Bird was coaching Reggie Miller, and Reggie was having a real off game, and Reggie stopped shooting. There was a game, Indiana at Phoenix. Reggie was like 0 for 9 and stopped shooting. Wasn't even taking any more shots. And Larry said, "What are you doing?" And Reggie said, "I can't make one." He said, "Hey, look, anybody can go 0 for 9. Only the great ones can go 0 for 20. so let's get some more shots up there right now."
The great ones keep shooting. The problem for Barbosa is there will be someone put his arm around him at the end of this game. It's going to be his Phoenix teammate, Amari Stoudemire. That's the problem, and he's not going to be able to offer much solace to him.
How about Reggie Miller, though, saying he's not going to come and play, which is a wise decision. Basketball is a young man's game, but I was ecstatic to see the Celtics get James Posey. That's a huge addition, and we're going to see more and more of that as all these veteran players seeing the Celtics as being back, now becoming the beast of the East once again, and you're going to have all these guys coming in saying, yeah, I want to play with Kevin Garnett. I want to be out there with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. What an opportunity now to be, once again, a member of the Celtics after the whole thing has been sort of in a coma, in a daze for a couple of decades now.
Well, we should remind everyone, when Kevin Garnett did have people to play with, and Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell,
right,
they very nearly made it to an NBA final. Chandler with it, trying to find some opening, taps it back up, and go down, and a foul is called as Batista was trying to haul it in.
This is something that Krzyzewski has done a little bit now the last couple games, play his bigs together at the same time. He did it last night against Canada with Dwight Howard and Amari Stoudemire a little bit in the third quarter, just 3 or 4 minutes. Tonight he's playing Tyson Chandler and Amari Stoudemire, because if they ever play against a team that has a lot of size across the front line, you might need to go to that twin tower attack, which the United States really has not been forced to do, going with a game of speed and quickness.
The United States, it looks like they're going to, I think it's safe to say, win this game.
Don't go out on a limb, John, please. There's 2:59 to go.
And Puerto Rico is likely going to finish with the final spot in Pool A, so they would face Puerto Rico tomorrow night.
And the decision by Krzyzewski, the one tonight to put Kobe on Barbosa. Brilliant. But now tomorrow night against Carlos Arroyo, who has a history of torching the United States in big games. Will it be Jason Kidd, who was a superb defender? I mean, top of the line. When you talk about defensive guards, Jason Kidd is the first guy that comes by, and Kobe is not. Kobe was lit up all this past season by literally all the top scoring guys. Michael Redd, just went off on him. Gilbert Arenas went off on him. And now in this tournament, Kobe is playing excellent defense, but who will be the one that gets the head-to-head matchup and call against Carlos Arroyo tomorrow night?
Well, it's interesting because Puerto Rico has not been very impressive in this tournament thus far. So they're going to get a chance to reload.
But they have a way of playing up to the level of the competition. And Carlos Arroyo is a real gamer. And
well, right now it's only moments away from completing pool play. 4-0. USA up big.
Fellas, welcome to our camp. Don't be afraid of making mistakes.
% financing for 60 months or up to $4,007 cash back on F-150. It's your last chance to save big on America's best-selling trucks. Get best-in-class towing and payload. And get 0% for 60 months or up to $4,007 cash back on F-150. But hurry, event ends September 3rd. Visit your Northwest Ford stores today.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aqua Velva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, firms, and tones.
And as we went to break, but he was yelling at his teammates, too many points for them, let's finish this thing. As Brazil has 73, that's the most they've given up thus far.
But you cannot say this was a poor defensive game. The United States, one of the things that's so impressive is that the way that they're playing. Yes, they're annihilating the opponents, but the sense of growing anticipation that this is something special once again. It's coming. You read the internet from around the world and everybody's saying, hey, the United States, they're doing no more of the nonsense, no more of the bickering, no more of the irrelevant issues becoming tantamount to what's happening. This team is playing spectacular basketball. We're seeing it with the increased attendance tonight and the attention paid now to this team. Is saying, hey, it's happening and we got to get on the bus very quickly.
Well, shots like that are the reason why Brazil has 76 points, because they've just been shooting threes over about the last 5 minutes and making about half of them.
And this final score, which will now, I'm going to have to let you make the mathematical calculation. What is that spread?
That would be 34 right now.
After 13 years of Clippers basketball, you'd think I would be able to make those decisions, but 34 points, this is not reflective of a 34-point game. This is more of a 50-point game. And it was blown open in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter when the United States came out. And Krzyzewski obviously pointed out the importance of the start of that third quarter. The lob pass unable to be converted by Amari Stoudemire.
And Brazil is just, like you said, this is not as close as the score indicates, and the score is not close. It's just a matter of Brazil putting some points in here late, but the USA is going to walk off with their 4th consecutive victory and 4th consecutive complete annihilation of the other team. Amari Stoudemire. I mean, as if it's not enough, you've got to watch that in the final seconds.
But now you have these unbelievable players. Amari Stoudemire, I voted for him for first-team All-NBA this past year. And here's a guy now playing against the second and third string of the Brazilian national team, and there's just no stopping that. I mean, even Nene, who was the best big man in the history of Brazil, would have no chance on a play like that. And he's been sitting on the bench for quite some time trying to suck some wind right now, because Nene is just not in good enough shape to play at this level.
Amari Stoudemire hasn't stopped playing. With 5 seconds left, he comes up with a huge block. And the USA walks off with its 4th straight victory as it heads into quarterfinal pool play. 113-76. Back to Las Vegas in a moment. A presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bill Walton and our entire ESPN crew, I'm John Saunders. Good night from Las Vegas. We'll see you tomorrow night.